Hi, you will have seen from the thumbnail what we're going to make, so this is just a little introduction to that and why. And here is the hat on my AliExpress Blythe, but obviously it will fit any Neo Blythe as well. Now this was a request from one of my viewers, so thank you Elaine for the request. It is something I've thought about for so long and just never got around to, so it was nice to have a little nudge from somebody which made me think, oh yeah, that's something I need to sort out. Apart from that, I've got to get some things done for the UK BJD Con later in the year because I am going to be having a stall there, so I need quite a few things to make. So this is the one design I am going to do as well. But we're going to make this today. Now it's a weird one because I'm going to do, in this video, I'm going to do all this top bit, but for these two, I'm going to actually refer you across to the Christmas pudding that I've done as the chocolate orange cover because it's the same pattern. So it's as easy for you to do that. I hope that's going to work out okay for everybody. Apologies if not. I just thought, well, otherwise I'm going to be repeating myself and people are going to be thinking, why is she doing that? So we're going to have a go at making this hat. I hope you're going to join me with it. If you do make it, let me know. Pop a comment below. If you do like it or you just like looking at it, please let me know. If you enjoy what I do on my channel, please like, subscribe and share. And I'll see you in a second with our crochet tutorial. Don't forget UK terms and let's go top down. So let's get started with this little Christmas pudding hat. As you can see, we have our little model here. Now, Blythes have quite large heads, so it's going to have to be a doll with quite a large head. If it's not going to be a Blythe, it's going to fit. This is an AliExpress Blythe, but of course it will fit the others as well. So I decided to pop some little ear flaps on the side, so I'll keep it really cute. Now, I have some double knit yarn here, so this one's got a slight sparkle in it, but you don't have to do that, of course. And then brown for the actual pudding. Now, as far as the top bits are concerned, you see the little holly and the berry there. Now, I've already got some ready-made, and what I decided to do, as I mentioned in the intro, is I'm not going to do that on this video. I will pop you the link to the chocolate orange cover, get it right way around, that has exactly the same ones on. So I thought, well, you didn't really need it sort of twice. So I'm going to pop that over there. We're going to move our girl over as well. We will need her to try it on as we go. So I'm going to take that off her head for now. Because as I mentioned before, when we're making things like this, everybody's tension's slightly different. It is important to keep trying it on your doll to make sure you're getting the right fit. Because you may need to go down a hook size, up a hook size. You may need to leave a stitch out, add a stitch in. Because we're all different and there's not a lot we can sort of do about that. A bit of paper there. So as I said, double knit yarn here. My hook size is a 3mm hook. I have some scissors and I have a sewing up needle, so I'm going to move those to one side as well. So we're going to get started with the actual pudding, the chocolatey bit first. Well, it's not actually chocolate, is it? I don't know what a Christmas pudding is in different areas, as is essentially a fruit pudding. Although you do get different variations, because in our house there's only really me that likes the fruit side, so I do have to get chocolate puddings at Christmas because nobody else likes them. Right, my wool's got a bit tangled here. Let's just get rid of that. Here we go. So we're going to be starting. It is quite an amigurumi-esque, but there is a lot. I'm just looking at the shadow there. I'm considering moving things because let me move them to that side. Will that help? There we go. She's over there, and we'll put our little pudding hat about there, I think. It's hard to sort of see when you're sort of looking down at the camera where things go sometimes. So we're going to get going, as I said, slightly amigurumi-esque. I'm also going to try and keep slightly higher on my image in here, because something I didn't think about. I know I'm really bad, I admit it. When I sew things up, I sort of bring it closer to my body because it's easier to do it than with your arms stretched out. So I am guilty of that, so apologies for that. But something somebody commented on, because they were saying, you know, they couldn't see something, and they had a very valid point. I didn't think subtitles. So if I'm crocheting here and then subtitles come up, because you know, obviously I'm English speaking, but I mean, if somebody isn't and they need subtitles, my hands are where the subtitles are, so that's not good, is it? So I need to try and move. I'm going to try desperately to sort of keep around this area. I ought to put a little spot, shouldn't I? And so I've got a crochet there. Anyway, getting back to this crochet. Slip knot on the hook. We're going to start with our 2 chain, because that's how I like to start my amigurumi. So we have 1 and we have 2. And into this first one, we're going to do 6 double crochets. Don't forget UK terms, because a double crochet here is different to a double crochet elsewhere. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. We are not going to slip stitch join. We don't really need to, because we're going to move on to a longer stitch. We're going to move on to half trebles, and we're going to do 2 half trebles into each of those 6 to give us 12 stitches, but we can just go for it. So yarn round into that first one, 2 half trebles. I'll do a slower half treble just in case you're not sure. So it's yarn round into that same stitch, because we need 2 in there, remember. I pull it through. I have 3 on the hook. I grab the yarn and pull it through all 3. That's it. That is a half treble. So that is our first pair of half trebles in that first stitch. So second stitch, 2 half trebles again. So we have 1 and 2. So that's our second one. Our third one, we're going to have 1 and 2. Fourth one, 1 and 2. Fifth one, 1 and 2, and our very last one, 2 in number 6. So we have 1 and we have 2. So I'm just going to tighten up my first bit, because I don't want that hole there, although this is going to get covered, so it wouldn't really matter in this case. But I am going to grab a stitch marker. I personally, if I was sort of stitching on my own now, or crocheting should I say, I wouldn't put a stitch marker in, because we're sort of quite small numbers. That's creating a shadow. Quite small numbers, so I wouldn't need to. But because I chatter along, I'm going to put one in. So it's very cute. See, this little ceramic teapot is just so cute. I should have got a Christmas one out, really, shouldn't I? Right, so in we go, stitch marker. I probably will count as well, because it's hard to hold the stitch marker in at this point. So we had 2 half trebles in each of those double crochets. So we now have 12 stitches. We're going to do that again, because obviously that's not big enough, is it? So off we go. 2 half trebles, in this time in each of the 12, isn't it? So we end up with 24 stitches. So that's our first one, our second one, number 2 in each, number 3, number 4. It gets easier as it gets a bit bigger. Number 5. It's just holding it that's tricky to start with. That was number 5, wasn't it? This is why I've got a stitch marker. Number 6. Number 7. It's a little bit hard to see this colour as well, but again, as it gets bigger, it'll get easier. That was 7. 8. I'm hoping, oh, if I drop it, it got caught on my finger there. I'm hoping this background's going to be okay. It's a bit of an experiment, really. This is one of my cutting mats. Because my table's looking a little bit tatty now, the cream one, I really do need to either get some sort of new top for it or something, because obviously everyone uses it for gluing, painting, everything. Me as much as everyone else, but, you know, ultimately it's got a little bit tatty, and I've lost count. Oh, dear. I think that was 8, wasn't it? We'll soon find out when I get to the stitch marker, and we can count them then. 9, 10. Right, well, my stitch marker gets me to 11 there, but I think I need another one. I'm going to do a little quick count. Always pull out a long line with that, and when you're counting, you can see the little plaits here. So if you're not sure where you're counting, you can sort of see them along. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 15, 16, 17. Now that's in the way. 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. I think I need one more. So the stitch marker was actually right. You can see where that last hole is. So in we go. As I do as I say, not as I do. Make sure you count properly and avoid distractions and things like that. So we now should have, hopefully, 24 stitches. We are now going to increase again, but this time we're going to increase in a combination. We're going to do 2 in our first stitch, 1 in our next one, a 2, a 1, a 2 and a 1 all the way around. You will actually have 12 of those combinations to do, and we will end up with 36 stitches, hopefully. Let's see if I count. Right, are we ready? This is our first one, we have a 2. Our second one, we have a 1. In fact, I tell you what I'm going to do. I've got a pen here. I have a piece of paper somewhere, and I'm going to mark it down. So that was 1. And then I'm not going to get it wrong, am I? This is our second one. So we have a 2 in our first one and 1 in our second one. They're marking left-handed, so these are going to be a bit wobbly. Right, so number 3, we have a 2, and I'm moving again, aren't I? Let's get back up there. A 2. And a 1. Mark it down. So that was 3, wasn't it? We have a 2. We have a 1. So you're probably going faster than me now because you're not marking it down. We have a 2. And we have a 1. So we've done 5 now, and we need 12. So we have a 2 and a 1. So that's number 6. So we are now, that writing's terrible. Although it's not much better than my normal writing, really messy. We have a 2 and we have a 1. Oh, that's 7. We have a 2. Always have paper and pen, always, or pencil. So we have a 2 and a 1. Because I'm totally notebook obsessed, I've always got paper somewhere. So is the pen I can't find. We have a 2 and we have a 1. This yarn's going to end up on the floor, I know it is. We have a 2 and we have a 1. Whoop, we're nearly there, and the stitch marker's behaving for me, or should I say I counted properly. We have a 2, we have a 1, and then our last set, and I'm actually going to move the stitch marker now because with them being a longer stitch, it will affect the position of the stitch marker, but that looks pretty okay to me. So we had our 12 sets there, so we now should have, if I can get a stitch marker in, we should have 36 stitches. We're going to do a similar one again. This time we're going to do 2 in this one and then a 1 1 2 1 1, and you're going to do that 12 times, you may have guessed. I'm just going to rely on the stitch marker now. I'm probably not going to mark it down. I will have my pen and paper there in case for later. So off we go. We're going to have 2 half trebles. We have a 1 half treble. We have a 1 half treble. Yeah, that's the combination you're going to do. So there's a 2. We have a 1 and a 1. Now my wall's having a roll around. We have a 2, and we don't have a 2. There we go, we have a 2. We have a 1. And we have a 1. Back to 2s again. 2. And a 1. And a 1. 2. 1 and 1. So we're over halfway now. You can see it's starting to grow a little bit. A 2. Or not. A 2. A 1. A 1. A 2. I'm moving again. I'm moving towards myself. That was a 2, wasn't it? Yep. A 1. And a 1. We're almost round. We have a 2. We have a 1 and a 1. You can see we're almost to that stitch marker now. 2. 1 and 1. 2. couple more, haven't we, here? 2, 1, 1, and our last set is a 2, a 1, and a 1. Now we should have 48 stitches now. Now obviously the Blythe has quite a large head compared with some of our other dolls, so this is where we're now going to just do half treble rounds. So we've got quite a few, so we're now going to be starting to work down the body of the pudding, and I've got 8 rounds. Now if you want to sort of pause me, do your 8 rounds, come back to me when we get to the next bit, please do, because I know obviously we all work at different speeds, but I do recommend you try it on your doll about the 4th one, which I'm going to do. Now remember, in yarn we do have quite a lot of stretch in it, and sometimes you take a hat on and off and it will stretch, so a tiny bit tight, not the end of the world. Obviously it doesn't want to keep popping up or sort of pulling, you don't want that, but a little bit of tightness is not a bad thing. And again, it'll depend on your doll's hair. Right, I'm going to move my stitch marker up because I'm going to rely on that, but again I will try and move it up about every maybe 3 rounds, something like that. So I will be using my pen and paper, and I'm going to write down I need, there we go, 8 rounds. So 8, in fact, look at my terrible writing, 8 rounds is what I'm going to do of half trebles. Again, double check that, make sure you're using the right conversion if you're not used to UK terms, but yes, it is a half treble. So we should have 48 stitches there, and we're now going to do our 8 rounds. Are you ready for this? This is the boring bit, I'm afraid, if you're just watching me, but it has to be done, otherwise we don't get a hat, do we? So if you can get through this, when you get to the frosting, that's going to be a toddle. Because obviously it's like half the size, isn't it? So we're just doing 1 half treble into every single one of these. Now I've not decided whether I'm doing this for a pattern on my website. I suppose I ought to, because not everybody watches the YouTube channels, and some people do actually prefer to read a pattern or have a pattern sort of library. I know I do that. All the patterns I've made and all the patterns of other people's that I like, I do pop into a folder. So if you like me and you like it like that, you might want the pattern. So yes, perhaps I ought to. Now, as I say, this is the boring bit, I'm afraid, so I will be chattering. If you don't want to hear me chattering, pop on some music and turn the volume down. That's the easiest way of doing it. This ball's going to really annoy me because it's just going to keep rolling around. It's because, you know, when you get towards the end of a ball, well, it's not end of it, but it starts to not be a ball anymore. It just plays up. I ought to put a little box on the floor and just let it run, actually. I always say that, and I never get around to actually doing it. I need to be more organised. Here we go. Looking good. I know it seems a bit early. I'm saying that I've already done my Christmas pudding chocolate orange cover, haven't I? But yeah, Christmas is coming fast. Can't believe how fast it is. We've got a mad couple of months, and then I've got November. It quietens down a tiny bit, but I want to sort of prep for all my Christmas videos because I've got quite a few sort of ideas. Got a couple of nice advent calendars, so they'll be quite cool. Some dolly ones, and then I have a Christmas Eve yarn box coming as well, which I'm excited about that one because I've had those before and they are gorgeous. So that's going to be a good one. Right, we're almost round on our first round. And so 48 stitches feels like an awful lot, but you'll get into the flow of it. I know one of my other subscribers mentioned that she wanted one of these for herself. You could work it on the same system, but obviously you do need to make that base, your increase rounds, a lot bigger than 48. But after that, if you get the size of your crown, for example, top of your head, and you've increased to fit that, you could then go on with your half trebles, and yes, you could make a person hat easily. But it would take a bit of doing, that's all. So you'd have to have a bit of patience for that. But if it's what you really wanted, it would look rather cute. you could be sort of doing sort of matching. It'd be great photos, wouldn't it, for you and your doll to have the same hat on. There's probably, to be honest, I mean, I'm saying that's saying it's simple, that's all you have to do. But there is highly likely going to be some YouTube videos out there, I haven't had a look, that do actually do people Christmas pudding hats. Or there'll be a pattern somewhere, whether it be on the internet or, I don't know, the sites like Ravelry or even a book or something like that. There's going to be something out there. I do need to make a couple of these. I'm going to alter them slightly for when I do them for BlytheCon. Not BlytheCon. I'm not having a stall at Blythe. I'm going to BlytheCon, which I'm really excited about. But I've got a stall at UKBJD, which is the first time in this country, so that's exciting. So I am going to be making a few of these hats for the stall, because I think I'm going to sort of do more Smart Doll and Blythe items. Right, we're not far off our second round now. Can you see it? Sorry, there's a little hair. It keeps catching. It's annoying me. It's probably off the doll because I've been trimming their hair. It's a blonde piece of hair and there's nobody blonde in my house. So it's got to be the doll, because obviously she's got very white. It's almost white blonde, isn't it? She's got... Doll hair loss is a bit of a pain. Mind you, mine's as bad. I think we might move the stitch marker when we get to it this time. You can see it's sort of starting to really spread out our size now, which is great, and we're starting to get a curve. So this is round number 2, isn't it? So we're not ready to try it on the doll yet. I think around 4 is adequate to start checking that it fits her crown. And can you see how we've got a curve coming? So just push it out, because this is the right side, this is the wrong side. It's the bit where the little sort of tail of yarn there is the wrong side. And then obviously this is, but to be honest, sometimes it can look just as nice in the classed as inside out. Right, let's move you up a little, because it will change if we don't. And off we go again, round 3. Let's perhaps speed this up a little bit. Tell you what, it is harder to crochet in this position. I'm going to find a better way to have my camera, I think, or maybe a better stand or something. Because if I have it sort of too low or too near myself, I knock it. So that is why I sort of have it a little bit further out. But then obviously I have the issue of me bringing it towards me. And now we're going to have the issue of a very annoying stitch marker clacking on the table. Quickly try and get past that bit. I think I might have to change stitch markers, because that's going to really annoy me. Because it is an actual little sort of pot, teapot. So it's going to be quite clattery. After we get past halfway, it should be okay, because then it's going to come towards me, isn't it? Ta-da! Round we go. I love my Blythes, but I curse the size of their heads. It's much easier to make for the fashion dolls. Although I say that, just because something's smaller doesn't mean it's easier. Because if it goes really small, then the yarn has to go finer. And obviously the work is a little bit more detailed, so it's smaller. So it can actually take you longer, because you're having to sort of concentrate a little bit more. And as I say, finer yarn, finer hook. So you're still actually going to have quite a few stitches. I don't think it just feels like it goes faster. I don't know. This is why I don't make many Blythe hat videos for YouTube, because I didn't know whether people would want to sort of sit and watch for that length of time. Although, as I say, you've probably written down you've got your 8 rounds and you can just sort of get off and do them, can't you? Oh, I don't want that. You know what to do if we split a stitch. Definitely just take it out, because you'll be so frustrated when you get to the end and you realise you've split a stitch and not realised, because it'll look messy. Now, shall I change this stitch marker? Good question. Because obviously you won't see that, you just see a pause. I think I am going to change it, because I think it's going to annoy me, isn't it, when it gets to the bottom. Right, so that's our round 3. So I'm just going to mark that off. I'm going to pause. I'm going to find a better stitch marker than, well, not a better one, because that is absolutely adorable, but one that's not going to clatter quite so much. New stitch marker in. This one is actually a little character that I created as a drawing, and then we had done as a sort of, I can't think of the word, a digital print, so we could pop it onto little things. And this is actually called Lily. There's a little bell that goes with it as well, but this is Lily. So we did create a range of stitch markers. I can't actually remember whether I've got some on my website. I ought to sort that out, because I know my daughter did a range of items as well. In fact, I've got one of my daughters here. Look how cute that is. She's so cute. She's a little fox. She did a little range which are lovely as well. So we do need to sort our stitch markers out. So back to our crochet, and hopefully this stitch marker is not going to make too much noise because it's smaller and lighter. So we're on round 4. I nearly said 5 then, that's wishful thinking. We're on round 4 now, and as you can see, we're properly getting a hat shape. So let's get going. Make sure I'm not moving. I think we will try it on the doll after this round. So it is starting to curve round nicely, so it gives you an idea. It is clicking a bit, isn't it, this stitch marker? It will give you a good idea as to whether you've got the right fit at this point. You'll have to let me know in the comments below what sort of Christmas puddings you would actually have. I don't know, I presume they are going to be different in different places. You know, whether it be more fruit, less fruit, chocolate, no fruit, I don't know, whatever combinations. What dessert, should I say, would you have after your Christmas dinner? Traditionally, as I say here, it is the Christmas pudding. The Christmas pudding quite often has a lot of alcohol in it as well, which can be quite nice depending on which. So yeah, different combinations for different people. I think this is just sort of the one that you sort of see on Christmas cards and, you know, things like that. You might see a robin sat on top of it or something. Oh, nearly split. Take it out and put it back. There we go. There, I didn't really notice. It did a little bit of clicking the stitch marker, but I didn't notice it enough to irritate me, so that must have been better. And we're going to mark off our 4th round, and then we're going to try it on our girl. I always do it right at the end when I say I'm going to do something else, and I swear it just wants to stop me doing it. Right, so we have our 4 rounds. Now we're going to bring our Blythe in. Oh, I'm going to knock you all unconscious. This is why I think I need a different stand, because it's literally just there above me, so I'm catching it. So popping it on our doll's head. I'm quite happy with that. It feels like it's going to fit nicely on the top there. And that's the sort of fit you need. So if you're happy with that, you carry on and do your remaining 4 rounds. And that's all there is really. Well, there's 4 rounds and we need to do those little ear flaps, but otherwise it's just 4 rounds of half treble. So off we go again. Curious to see how long this video actually takes when I get to the end, because I can't see the timer on here, because the clip that holds my phone, because it's my phone I do the filming on, is completely covered it up, so I've absolutely no idea. It's not going to be a short video, I can tell you that much. I'd considered whether to start. I don't know whether the filming would work, because I mean, filming is quite a new thing to me. It's quite experimental. Even though I've been doing the videos for a few years, I'm constantly learning, oh, is this better, is that better? I don't know whether to do it in 2 parts. You know, it's like this, but one video but 2 parts, so it'll tell you when you can, you know, when to start the frosting, for example, or something like that. I need to have a thing. I need to do a little bit more learning on the computer, I think. Oh, it is clicking. Come on, quickly, get around that bit. There we go. We got past the clicky bit. And we're almost done number 5. A few more. My stomach has just rumbled. I don't think you will hear that. I hope you don't hear that. I haven't, I mean, it's morning while I'm doing this, but I haven't actually had any breakfast yet because I was so busy trying to sort things out and get things ready. So I thought, oh, I'll get the video done first. It'll not take too long. I'll have my breakfast. I can guarantee my stomach is going to be rumbling quite a few more times whilst I'm doing this video now. And for number 5, ta-da, number 5, there we go. So we have 3 more rounds to go. So I'm going to pull a bit of this yarn out because it's definitely bobbling about quite a bit, which is a little bit annoying. Off we go, round number 6. If you do follow me on Instagram or on my Octopudding Facebook, anything like that, if you do make a hack, because obviously you can't send pictures on YouTube, can you? Please tag me in it, because I love to see what people have done, because I think it's going to look super cute on the dolls. I know it might feel a bit early to do Christmas photos, but I think they'll look cute. Here we go, clickety click again. I don't know how much you can hear that actually on the video. Let me know if you can hear the stitch marker making a lot of noise, or whether it's irritating, or whether, you know, it's something I'm going to have to work on. I'm moving towards me again, aren't I? Let's get it back up here. Back up here. I am wondering how much I can actually move the camera towards me because I'm looking down on it as I'm filming. So I can sort of see it, roughly positions and things. I might actually, when I get around round 6, I hope it wouldn't disorientate people too much. I might actually pause and move, see if I can move this a little bit closer to my body. Never thought about doing it that way. Almost round. Well, we got maybe 10 more stitches-ish, something like that. I mean, in a perfect world, if you've got it nice and quiet, you should really count your stitches each time you go around, because it does make a difference. I've recently made some little stockings that are going to be going in a magazine, and I had to make the pattern, and I realised if I just relied on the stitch marker, it made it different to if I actually counted. Thankfully, there were only 18 stitch rounds, so it wasn't too bad. But yeah, I would recommend you do count sometimes. Some things it doesn't matter so much on, but some things it does. Right, so that is our round 6, and I'm going to pause. Right, camera moved, and actually I'm sort of sat back a little bit more now, so it's a bit more comfortable on my back as well. Let's see, I think that'll work. I'm going to try not to hit the camera. We're on round 7 now, so we actually only got 2 more rounds of this one, haven't we? Which is good. We're getting there. You can see we've got a proper little hat forming. Thing is, this shape as well is the base for so many other designs that you could create from there. I mean, it doesn't have to be a Christmas pudding hat. It can just be a little pull-on hat. You could put, it doesn't have to be this colour, of course. You know, you could do it in a, I don't know, pastels. You could put little buttons on it. You could put little flowers on it. You could do all sorts. Yeah, I think this feels a little bit better. I just hope, as I said, the positioning's right. I can see me watching it back and going, ah, that didn't work. But it's all trial and error. I know I was looking back at one of my old videos. I do a video where I make some little Crochet dolls, which is quite an old video now. And yeah, I've changed so much. I think I've relaxed into it. I think on the original ones, I was sort of trying to make my voice sound very easy to understand. I sound a bit nervous, you know, and obviously my camera was different then, things like that. So yeah, it was quite a shocker when I look back on it. I hope I've relaxed into things now. I think I have a little bit because my northern accent's peeping through a little bit more than it did. But I don't think that's a bad thing. I'm proud of my accent. I hope it doesn't cause any confusion with the subtitles. Right, we're almost round. Yay, we're nearly there. Oh, split stitch. This yarn is a bit of a so-and-so for splitting. It's used, I mean, it's a brand I use all the time. It's a Stylecraft yarn and it's lovely. But I don't know whether perhaps it's the lighting, because obviously I'm looking over myself rather than sort of sitting in the better lighting that I would normally do. So I don't know whether perhaps it's just me not being able to see. Oh, my voice is going, excuse me. To see the stitch as well as I would like to see it. Right, that is round 7. I'm not going to mark it down because we're now on our final round of half trebles. Like I said, there is a little bit more to do because we need those sort of ear flap shapes. But as far as the half trebles are concerned, this is the last round. I do like a half treble. It makes it a little bit quicker because if I've done this all in just double crochets, it would have took a lot longer. But also it stretches a little bit as well. It's got a little bit more give. A double crochet is quite a tight stitch, which is fabulous for certain things, and I do use double crochets a huge amount, especially in my amigurumi. But sometimes, say if it's with the doll hat, as I say, if your tension was a bit tight, for example, if you did it in a double crochet, it would probably make the hat a little bit small. Whereas at least with a half treble, it does allow a little bit more movement. So you've got that little bit more give in the work. So if it was a little bit tight, it's not so bad then. Right, I know some of you will have disappeared until we get to the end of this bit. And some of you will have stayed with me. Say hi if you stayed with me, listening to my rubbish. But some will be rejoining us in a second for the last bit, which is it's sort of the final round and the sort of the ear flap round. And then we can get rid of the stitch marker so it won't be making an annoying noise. I think there is a couple of times I might have not split it, but just slightly caught it. Thankfully, there's something going over the top, so I'm not going to worry about it. And I'm sure you guys don't want to see me undo it and start again. I can always do that after the fact. We're on our home run now because the stitch marker has stopped making a noise, so I know we're on the top bit. There's one there as well, that caught. It's very strange. Although I don't know about you, but I do find, even in the same brands, say there's a brand of yarn you really like to use, some colours within that range feel different, even though it's the same range. I don't know, sometimes it feels thicker. I know red colours are like that. And I must admit, I think this brown does feel a little bit rougher than the others. I mean, it's still a nice yarn, but there's a slight more rough texture to it. And I think that is why it's catching in places. Tell you what would look nice if you've got a like a variegated brown, because the puddings here do have sort of little, they could have nuts in it, they could be sort of, as I say, raisins, currants, all those bits. So you could sort of do it in a lighter colour with little tiny speckles, which would be quite sweet. We're on our final round now, and it is a double crochet round, so we're changing down into that smaller stitch because it just sort of holds it that little bit tighter around that final bit. So we'll do the double crochet round, and then we will do the ear flaps, which are easy peasy. It's getting your brain back into doing deep double crochets now, though, because you get so used to doing something. I know I'm doing a huge amount of trebles in something I'm working on at the moment. And yeah, you start doing something else and you keep sort of reverting back to those original stitches. But no, double crochet, double crochet. Remember, UK double crochet. Now, I know in the US it is a single crochet this. So I don't know whether that's the same elsewhere. I'm a little bit confused on, are there just two different pattern types? I know a lot of people work on graphs, and if you're working on a graph, it sort of doesn't matter so much. I think there's sort of, it seems to be predominantly UK and US terms you see everywhere. But I don't know whether there's any other versions. If you know of any, again, pop a comment down below, because it helps other people as well get information. Oh, clickety clacky stitch marker will be coming out any second now. So at least it wasn't as bad as that little teapot. As cute as it was very noisy. Yeah, it's gone quiet now, so we know. And countdown time. Every time I say countdown, I wouldn't put it on here. I would never sing in front of anyone because I can't say as I could say. I can really sing. It would be just a noise. But I always want to sort of sing the song Final Countdown. But I won't. I won't put you through that suffering. And here we are. So I'm going to take my stitch marker out. And now we have the base of our hat. So it's like a little beanie, isn't it, at this point? So the next bit we're going to do is our ear flaps. And we are actually moving on to some trebles now. So from this position, I'm going to do a treble into not the next stitch, but the next stitch along. In fact, I'm going to do 3 trebles. So not this one, into the next one. So 1, 2, 3. I'm also going to do 3 trebles into the next stitch. So side by side these are 1, 2, and 3. I'm then going to miss a stitch, and I'm going to do a double crochet, nearly said just a DC, I've not actually counted this, it's just approximately halfway. It depends on where you want it. You've got to imagine where your doll's ears are. Some people like it slightly further forward, and some people like it exact match. So I'm going to do it exact match, so it's going to be approximately there. So let's see how many stitches it takes to get to there. So back to double crochets, I'm going to miss a stitch and double crochet. Yeah, so you can see we've got that little flap there. So that's 1, 2, 3, split again, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, I know we're nearly there, 15, I think it'll be about 20, 16, 17, 18, 19 and 20. Let's have a look at 20, because obviously when I do the written pattern I need to write that down, don't I? Right, so if you imagine, okay, you might think, oh, I'm not fully there yet, but I've got to do those 3 and 3s, haven't I? So I'm going to go with the 20. We had 48 stitches, remember, total, so it's approximately right. So I'm going to say 20 double crochets at that point. And then we're going to jump, we're going to miss one, 3 trebles, 1, 2, 3 trebles in the next one, 1, 2 and 3. We're going to miss one, and then we're just going to do a double crochet all the way around to the beginning, and then you've done this part. Anyway, all this time I've got this close and my yarn has now just dropped on the floor. Never mind. A fluffy bit on the yarn there, nearly there. And my last stitch I will do is a slip stitch. That is a preferred preference because I just think it takes it a little bit flatter rather than it sticking out for when you're sewing in. So I'm actually going to do into this one a slip stitch. And we have finished the body of our Christmas pudding. So we need to try it on our girl. Bring her back over. Try not to knock the camera this time. She's got a lot of hair. Right, let's get it right way around, missus. So, how's that fit on you? I think that fits nicely. So you can see where the ear flaps are sitting over the ears. I know it looks quite nice if you do some little plaits from that. That is what I'm going to be doing on mine when I do them for UKBGD, just sort of like some little plaits as well. But that is our basic hat, so we're pleased with that. So phase 1 is done. Phase 2 is way easier. I'm going to be bringing in our nice glittery yarn here, and we have more. Now this is definitely doll hair. I don't know whether you've seen my video yet, but I've just got, it's an early birthday present actually, but I've just got Surrey Sustainable, my first genuine Blythe, and I've washed her hair and I've had it all brushed out and letting it dry in the sun, and I keep brushing it, and we've had some hair loss, etc, etc. She's super cute though. She is super cute. So let's get on. I'm chattering when I shouldn't be, aren't I? So we have our glittery yarn. It's just got a very fine filament in it, this one. I do find a lot of the glittery yarns are baby yarns though, so you do need to watch for that because they might have a slight different thickness. So we're going to start exactly the same. In fact, if I can reach it without knocking the camera, which I don't think I can, I'm going to knock it. Oh, I did it. Right, so you can sort of see it's approximately half the size of the pudding, so it's not going to take as long, is it? And I'd say I'll pop the links in for the other bits. I think that's the best way to do it. And you might fancy doing a chocolate orange colour as well. So here we go. We have our 2 chain. We have our 6 double crochet into the first chain. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. And like with the other one, now we're going to move on to half treble, so 2 half trebles into each of those 6. So yarn round into that first stitch. We have 1, we have 2, 3, 4, 5 and 2 in our last one, 6. So now we've got 12 stitches there. So as you know, that's not going to be big enough, so we're going to do the same. To be honest, a lot of it's exactly the same until we get to a certain point. So now we're going to be doing 2 in each of those 12. So we'll just count 12. I think that's probably the easiest way, and rather than mess about with a stitch marker at this point. So we have 1. When I count 1, that means that's 2 stitches in it. We have 2. We have 3. 4. 6, so we're halfway there now for that one. Get a bit of this yarn out. That's 6, 7, 8, 9, oh, nearly lost that one. That's 10, 11, and just one more makes our 12. One more set, should I say. So as you can see, we're already starting to grow, but again, still not big enough. Where have I just put my tiny stitch marker? Is it here? So now again, we now have 24 because we did 2 in each of the 12. So now we start with the little combinations where we're going to go 2 while I'm fiddling around with this. We're going to have 2 stitches in the first one, 1 in the second one, and that will be times 12. You guessed it. So off we go. So 2 in our first one, 1 in our second, in that one. Yep, so that's 1 set, yeah? So it's a 2, and don't split it. I'm determined to split my yarn today, aren't I? That's 1, that's 2. Then a 1, then a 2. Now if you're being good, you'll be counting this. I'm just going to rely on my stitch marker at this point. 2 and a 1. You can roughly guess when you're halfway anyway, because the stitch marker will be in direct line to where you are. So I know I'm about halfway now because the stitch marker's there. And a 1. We have a 2. We have a 1. We have a 2. A 1. Oh, look at that. Can you see that stitch there? That is way too long for my liking. So I'm going to take it out. Now that was a 2 and a 1 combination. I'm taking it back to. So I'll take that there. Because that stitch will affect the second round. I like you to see the mistakes I make because people worry a little bit too much about mistakes, and with crochet it's really not a problem just to undo a couple of stitches. So that's a 2 and a 1. So we're back to where we were now, and we're almost round. And a 1, a 2, a 1, we're nearly there, a 2. There's 2 more sets, a 1, and that's my last set is a 2. And if I can get it in there, a 1. Right, so I'm round. Now we're actually going to, we do need another increase, but not just at this moment. We're now going to do 2 half treble rounds, okay? So you can see we've got a nice shape coming. I think little stitch marker does need moving up. To be careful with the filaments. Can you see these tiny mini filaments? Yeah, see little filaments. That's what you get with the, obviously the sparkle yarns. So it can pull and it can catch. So just be careful with that as well. So 2 half treble rounds. That's an easy one. Off we go. So again, I'm just using my stitch marker. I'm not going to count. I said the times I definitely do count, as I mentioned earlier, but you know, sometimes there's distractions, and that's why the stitch markers are so useful. Just remember to keep moving them. I mean, we're only doing 2 rounds at this point, so I am not going to worry about moving my stitch marker. I'm actually hoping my camera is going to hold out. It sort of flashed at me a minute or 2 ago saying low battery. Usually you can get quite a bit out of it, so fingers crossed. Otherwise I'll be doing it in 2 halves, whether I like it or not. I should have really charged it up before I started. It was my own fault. I was very aware that my phone was only on 38%. So this is our round one. So it's growing quite quickly now, isn't it? You've got quite a bit of sort of size to it now. So we now need our second round of just half trebles. So maybe what, 2 more, my stitch marker. Right, and now I'm going to start my round 2. So there's, after this, there isn't that much. I'm just looking on my paper actually whether I've written some. Yes, I did. I wrote it on the other side. I wondered where that bit had gone. So off we go again. So this is just 1 half treble in every single half treble, nothing more than that. We're not increasing just yet. I mean, if you wanted to make the sort of the frosting or custard, I mean, that's the other thing. The image is always looks like it's like a white sauce or a white frosting on a Christmas pudding. On average here, I think, I don't know if it's just a northern thing, but we have custard. And custard is not white. Custard is a yellowy colour. But I don't know when it changed. Perhaps it was a white sauce at some point. I don't know that much about the history of a Christmas pudding. But yeah, we do have custard. But I don't think like a yellowy custard would look very nice on the hat. I think you need a sparkly white to look like it's a frosting of some sort. But because it, again, we eat it hot here. So would you have icing on it? I don't think you would you? Because it'd just melt. So it's probably a white sauce that it originally stems from. Oh, that's another ball on the floor. Good job, the floor's been cleaned. Yeah, I'm always spilling buttons and dropping bits of yarn and things like that. So it, it has to be hoovered relatively often. Otherwise we're walking bits of yarn and things around the house. Right, back to our little lily stitch marker. One more. There we go. So we're round. So that is our 2 rounds of just 1 half treble. We are now going to put in an increase. Okay. And we're going to be doing, I'm just looking what I've got there. We're going to be doing 2. It's the same as before, really, isn't it? It's going to be 2 in 1 and then a 1 and a 1. It brings us back up to the 48 stitches that you've actually got. Where is it? It's over there. I was going to point over that way. It's not. It's there on our pudding. So here we go. So we have a 2 in 1, 2 individual ones, 1 and 2, 2 in 1, 2 individual ones. Obviously it's got to fit the pudding, so it's got to be the same diameter. So we're going to have 2 in 1, 2 individuals. It should give us 48 stitches. If you want to check your stitches at the end, you're more than welcome, but you might find it'll be okay anyway. If you did happen to move, I think you can get away with maybe 1 stitch lost, not much more than that, or 1 stitch gained. So never over worry when you're making something like this. I mean, if you're making a cardigan or something like that, it really matters your sizing. So 1 and a 1. We're going to have 2, a 1 and a 1, a 2, a 1 and a 1. We are nearly there. So we have a 2, a 1 and a 1. The next bit, looking at my pattern, if I've got it right, is the actual shaping of the sauce as if it's running down. 1 and 1. Nearly there. 1, 1. I think maybe is it 2 more sets, something like that, maybe 3.
almost at our little stitch marker. I think it might actually use this last set. It could be 1 and 1. Right, I'm happy with that because the stitch marker in theory does move slightly. I should have moved it up. So I'm going to take that out. It would have been 12 sets of the combination of 2 half trebles in one half treble in each of the next 2. So we're now going to get a little bit of shaping. Can you see this shaping that we've got here? You don't have to do that. Again, you could do a few more rounds to make it longer. I mean, if you want it sort of to go further down on your pudding, you can do. So just maybe add a couple more rounds. I'm double checking that I haven't done that. I don't know whether I need another half treble round. Yes, I do. I'm fibbing. I want one more half treble round. You see, I've got it written on this piece of paper and I didn't turn it over. So I'm going to pop my stitch marker back in and we're going to do one more round of half trebles. There we go. So we should have 48 stitches. Dare I count them to see if I've got my 48? Here we go. I'm going to. Yes. 1, 2. Make sure I don't lose count. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Well, that's 10. That's looking good. Looking about the right position in there. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Oh, a split there. 17, 17, 17. Don't lose count. 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. You know what I said about usually if you're about halfway, you can see you're in line with your stitch marker, and I've got to 24, so I know that is halfway. I'm going to pause a second. Right, I just paused to put on a little fan that I've got in the room. It is so hot in here. My glasses are sort of starting to slide down my nose. So I've just put a little fan on. I'm hoping it's not going to make too much noise. If it works out okay, it means I can have the fan on in the future. So apologies if you can hear a little hum or if it's annoying. It's only a little fan. It's one of those that you can, I'm not counting again. I've got 24, 25, 26. Let's get counting. 27, behave. 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, we're nearly there, 39, 40, let's hope I've got 8 more to the stitch marker, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, oh yes, 47 and 48. That was lucky because I actually thought I'd missed a stitch. So we're going to take that out. But as I was mentioning before, if you want it to come further down the hat, just add in another couple of rounds. Entirely up to you. You work out your measurements for that. Now we need a little combination for this sort of little shells, I suppose they almost are. So what we're going to do is we're going to, if I can read my own writing, we're going to slip stitch into the next 3. Yes, slip stitch. 1, 2, 3. So that's 3 slip stitches. I'm then going to do 2 half trebles into the same stitch. So yarn round, just into the next stitch. 1, 2. We're then going to do 2 trebles into the next one. 1, 2. We're now going to do 2 double trebles. So that's yarn round twice into the stitch. We pull it through. And it's the same as a treble really. You go 2, you go 2, and you have an extra one, that's all. And you go 2. So we need 2 of those in there. So yarn round twice. In we go. My phone's gone very dead. I don't think it's dead. I think it's just gone dark. So I might have to pause, guys, and this is going to have to be in 2 parts. It won't be when you see the video together, but I think I'm going to have to charge my phone, so I'll see you in a second. So phone charged up a little bit, so hopefully we'll get back to where we were. So the last thing we did was these 2 double trebles in that 1 stitch. We're going to do 2 double trebles again in the next one. Oh, wrap twice would be a good idea. 1, 2. And the next one, 2 trebles. So you can see we're just going back down on size. Then 2 half trebles. I nearly did a treble there. There we go. And then we're going to have 3 slip stitches. We have, oh, well, we do if we don't drop it. 1, 2, and 3. So then we start back at the beginning, which starts with 3 slip stitches. So you've got totally 6 there, haven't you? But we'll do it as the pattern says. 2 and 3. So it gives us a gap between the 2. Then we're going to do 2 half trebles, 2 trebles, 2 double trebles. Oh, try not to get the rest of your yarn wrapped up in it. It would help. So 2 double trebles. So we've got 2 double trebles there. Let me double check what I've got there. So 2 half trebles, 2 trebles, 2 double trebles, 2 more double trebles in the next one. 2 trebles. 2 half trebles and 3 slip stitch. 1, 2 and 3, and we're going to start again. So 3 slip stitch starts it. A little bit tighter. I don't want a loose stitch there. 1, 2 and 3. 2 half trebles. 1, 2, 2 trebles, 2 double trebles. They're a funny stitch, a double treble. They take a bit of getting used to, but they're quite good if you're wanting a longer stitch. 2 double trebles again in the next one. 2 trebles in the next one. I think you've probably worked out how the pattern goes now. 2 half trebles and 3 slip stitch. Come on, pulling a piece of paper over with me as well. Move that out of the way. So slip stitch 1. I hate slip stitches really. 2. I think they're really awkward ones. 3. You could do double crochets if you really don't like them, but it does make it neater. It shows more definition if you go into a slip stitch. So starting from the beginning again is 3 slip stitch, then 2 half trebles, 2 trebles in the next one, 2 double trebles, 2 double trebles in the next one, 2 trebles, 2 half trebles, and we should have space for 3 slip stitches. So we have 1, 2 and 3, or not. Is that one gone? And 3. Okay, so I'm going to say I'm round. You can see it looks a bit like a petal at the moment, doesn't it, like that? So I'm going to fasten that off, and we're going to have a little look how they would both fit onto her head, because it's the sewing on that sometimes can put people off making things. So I'm just going to get her into position there. Hope you can see her okay. Pop your arm down, missus. So if we pull the hat on, ta-da, and then look at how this would fit on. It's up to you whether you want sort of the first drip of the cream or whatever it is there, or if you want it in the middle, you can sort of play about with how you want to position it from there. Now I stitched it on her head because I find if you stitch it off, it tightens it. The only problem is her hair gets in the way, so it might be worth popping some cling film over her head or something like that, or a little plastic bag. Feels a bit cruel, that, doesn't it? Or something just to stop the hair pulling through as you're stitching. But I think the camera's a bit close for me to show you how that works, but you can see how it sits on the head and from the back. Obviously make sure you've left enough there, which I don't think I have, so now I'm going to have to add some yarn to stitch on. I will stitch on the first couple just to show you sort of the stitch I use for it, but you use however you prefer to stitch on. So I'm happy with the positioning, so I'm just going to pick up a piece of the brown yarn. Ideally get rid of that as well. Should have fastened that off, shouldn't I? And then I'm just picking up both pieces of the stitch and then a little bit of the brown, both pieces of the stitch and a little bit of the brown. And what I'm actually going to do is pull it down very slightly. You know, when I get to these, stretch it out a little bit as we get to the stitch. Thankfully I've not actually caught her hair up to now, but I know when I did the other one I kept catching the hair, which was very annoying. So just pull it down slightly when you get to your points, and you would continue doing that all the way around, just stretching the icing or cream, whatever you want to call it, into place for where it suits you. Now, as I mentioned, I'm not going to do the video for these next two little bits. We have our little holly leaf and our little berries, and as I said, here we are on the chocolate orange one, which you will see when you pop out the video. You can put as many on as you want. You know, you could have 4, you could have 3 berries, you could really sort of mix it up. I've just gone for that like that. So I'm going to pop you a link. I would continue to actually stitch it on. I had to pause. Well, I didn't pause. I knocked the camera yet again. I really do need to sort this out, don't I? So I'm hoping I'm not repeating myself here. But yes, just continue stitching around in a position that you prefer. Now, as far as these are concerned, the top of our little hat, our little hollies and our berries, this is the video I'm going to pop you a link to, because it's exactly the same as the ones I did on my chocolate orange. So I will pop you sort of the little thumbnail or whatever it's called at the end for this particular video. Any problems, give me a shout, pop some message below, say you weren't quite sure or something like that, or you couldn't find it, anything like that, just let me know. But otherwise, that is our cute little hat. So let's take this one off, and we will put her other one on, which is my Christmas hat for her. I get it the right way around. She needs a Christmas outfit now. We do have some, but I've not had a chance to sort them out yet. So here we go with our little Christmas hat. I need to go and take some photos of her in it now, because I do think she looks rather cute. Might have to find her out a Christmas dress. I know I've got one. I know I have. I cannot find it, but I know I do have one. So if you enjoyed my video, please like, subscribe, share, etc, etc. It is a rather long one, this one, but obviously you can pause it, stop it, etc whenever you want. So hopefully you'll join me along with another one, and I'll see you all very soon. So bye bye for now.